Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wattsburg Area School District, where we are student-centered and future-focused for world-class education. The May 20th, 2024 regular board meeting is now called order. May we please have the presentation of colors. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May we have a roll call, please?
Present.
Here. Here.
Here. Here.
Present. Present. Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda and addendum.
So moved. Push check. Morvay, second.
Any discussion or revision to tonight's agenda and addendum? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. The agenda and addendum are approved. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the April 15th, 2024 regular board meeting and the May 13th, 2024 work session.
Nicole, so moved. Burlingham, second.
Any discussion or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. The minutes are approved. The chair recognizes Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Ken Berlin, for school reports.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I would ask Mr. Englert to introduce the AFJ ROTC unit. They recently won an award, and we're going to learn a little bit about that this evening.
Yeah, I've actually got two groups that are presenting to you this evening. And I want to say, you know, I know I've highlighted the ROTC program quite a bit in the time that I've been here. And there's a couple reasons for that. One, you know, if you're not familiar with the ROTC program, you might assume that the majority of these young men and women go on to careers in the armed forces. And actually, that's not the case. You know, a majority of them will not pursue careers in the military. And so the program is more than just a military prep program. It's a great program. I've seen the benefits in terms of student leadership, and probably more importantly, just in community service. And I think that's one of the things that we should really be instilling in young people. And so this Distinguished Unit Award that they won, a major component of it was their community service component. And so the number of hours that these young people have put in is just something I think is really impressive in the age that we live in, that they're willing to donate so much of their time. They make the school look really good, and they're just good representatives of our community. So I'm going to let them talk to you a little about what this award meant and what they've been doing.
Hello, I am Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Goodman. I am the current Squadron Commander of the Seneca JROTC unit. We are thankful that you have us here today.
And I'm Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Elliot Bona. I was the Corps Commander last fall and this fall, and we're very happy to be here.
Okay, on this pie chart, we have our current enrollment in ROTC. The biggest portion of our unit in the light green is the Iroquois unit. The 9th graders are represented in the orange, the 10th graders in the dark green, 11th graders in the light blue, 12th graders in the purple, and the 8th graders in the dark blue. We are required to have 46 people in our program, which is about 10% of the current enrollment in our school. And we currently have 56, and we are exceeding the expectations that are set to us by the Air Force.
So as Mr. Englert said, one of the biggest things that we do is community service. We do that just in the school and throughout the entirety of the Erie County. So a couple of things that we do. Every morning, every day after school is the flag detail. So the flags you see in front of the high school and the middle school, our cadets put up and down with proper military fashion, and we do it, regardless of the, 20 degrees temperatures we get in winter, and, if it's 90 degrees, we'll still be out there doing it because it just means a lot to us. Another thing we do is our color guards. That's just what we did down here for you, so we'll do that in Erie, pretty much anywhere where it's needed, and you'll see us at the football games, basketball games, and wrestling games. It's just a really easy thing for the community, and we're pretty blessed to be able to do that. Another thing we did this year was Erie Veterans Day Parade, where we were invited just to represent veterans, so we took a nice walk down Parade Street. One of our biggest events is the Soldiers and Sailors Home, where we sell wreaths every year to our families, and we're able to hang them up at the graves behind the Soldiers and Sailors Home. It's a really amazing event, and it's really something that gets the whole community together. Something we did new this year was the Baton Death March, which is a 14-mile ruck on Presque Isle that represents the Baton Death March that our soldiers did in the Philippines during World War II. And then just a couple of days ago, as Dr. Berlin up there most definitely remembers, because he had a great speech, was the Veterans Appreciation Night, where we had 70 veterans come just to our Seneca Commons for a beautiful event with food and trumpet playing, and it was great. And then this upcoming Monday, we're doing the Memorial Day Parade in Wattsburg, where we're also doing the color guard for that. And probably one of my favorites was the Gary Sinise Lieutenant Dan band that we participated in setting up and helping out clean up for that. So it was really cool, and it was some really good music too. So here's a couple pictures from our Veterans Banquet that we just did. On the far right, we have the cadets in the committee that participated in that and did a lot of hard work. And then we also were lucky enough to have State Senator Dan Laughlin and State Representative Jake Banta there. And then here's a picture from our Baton Death March, where 14 miles isn't easy, so we did have a little stop at one of the playgrounds down there. And on the right, we have a picture of us from the Gary Sinise Lieutenant Dan Band.
Next section we're going to discuss is our CIA projects, which are curriculum in action as termed by the Air Force, which is all our field trips we have done so far. Currently, we have done 2, and we have 1 scheduled for over the summer. We did the KC-135 air refueling mission, the PA Air National Guard JROTC Field Day, and the Outdoor Odyssey this summer is the leadership camp.
So this is pictures from our KC-135 refueling mission, where we did fly to 20,000 feet and refuel with another aircraft. For me, this is a lot. I'm one of the odd ducks in ROTC where I actually am going to pursue a military future, so I'm going to Penn State next year for ROTC, and I'm hoping to be a pilot after I graduate. So this summer I did a flight academy at South Dakota University, which was through ROTC, where I got 15 flight hours. And my CFI always told me, Elliot, you got to do your checklist and stuff like that, or else, the plane's going to break down, and, you got to do your checklist. I'm like, no, I have this memorized. So seeing these 2 pilots where I sat in the jump seat, got to watch and talk to them the entire time, their checklist is probably 30 times as big as mine. So I definitely learned the importance of a checklist. So definitely something to keep in mind as I go throughout my piloting career here. And for the rest of the cadets, we had juniors and seniors and a couple of sophomores come with us. For some of them, it was their first flying experience. So to say you did that in an Air Force KC-135 refueling plane is pretty cool. And we also got to sit in the boom in the back, which is a glass seat at 20,000 feet where you get to look at the ground. So if you aren't nervous with flying, sitting in that is definitely going to make you nervous. And then just a week later, we were invited just again to come down for a field day, which opened up to all of the cadets in our corps, where we got to learn about many different careers in the Air Force National Guard. So we had a medical demonstration, which involved some passing out. We had security forces, technology, and then aviation again. So it was really cool, and I hope our cadets gathered a lot from that.
Okay, this one was definitely my favorite event from the year. We had the honors of hosting the annual military ball for the ROTC programs in Erie County. I had the pleasure of being the head of the committee for military ball this year. We worked really well together as a team, learned how to form committees and communicate with other schools, with people we don't see every day, and learned how to execute all these plans we've been making. We spent around $10,000 on military ball, which is all money we fundraised ourselves. to be able to have this. It's similar to a prom type event for all the ROTC programs. So it really taught us the values of teamwork and leadership throughout the entire process. Oh.
We're on the last one.
Yeah. Finally, we just want to say thank you on behalf of all the cadets. Thank you for having us here today. Thank you for your unwavering support of this program. And we plan to continue to make better citizens, students, and representatives of the Wattsburg Area School District moving forward in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
And I'll tell you, if you spend any time with these cadets, man, it's a joy to be around them. You know, a lot of times when I'm trying to get groups here, you know, even when we're celebrating them, you know, it's a bit of a struggle. When I went to these guys, they were excited about you coming here. You know, that, can we put together a presentation? Yeah, we'll do, you know, we'll present the colors. So just a fun group to be around. And I started this by talking about the community service aspect. And so next, I want to bring up our life skills instructor, Lizzie Donikowski, with some of her students. And one of our goals for that program in general was to just integrate them more into just the school as a whole, right? And when we interviewed Lizzie and talked about that, she was excited about that. And they've done a great job too, and the fact that they can serve the community and serve as an example for the school of just generosity and doing something that makes a positive difference is really encouraging as well. So I'm going to let you them talk a little bit about what they've been doing.
Hello, I am Lizzie. I'm going to have my students introduce themselves real quick.
Hi, my name is Dominic Maines.
Dominic Maines, nice.
Hi, my name is Destiny Kopostecki.
So I brought my two classroom paraprofessionals with me as well. So we have Mrs. C and Mrs. H. Mrs. C is new. I asked them to come tonight because they are such a huge part of the classroom, and we could not do our vending machine project without them. So that's why they are here this evening, because I think it's really important for them to be recognized for all of their hard work as well as the students. All right, going up. Okay, so we're gonna click it, okay? Okay, on to the next. So we just wanted to start off by sharing a little bit about what we do every single day for the vending machine.
So we check the vending machine every day, sometimes during afternoon. We gather supplies for the vending machine so that way we can take it down and fill it. And stock vending machine at least once a week or a day.
Yep, once a day. And then Destiny's job is what?
Count the money.
She's in charge of getting all the money and counting the money. Okay, then what else do we do every single day?
Make sure that
It's
it
off.
is off
Yep.
all times.
And then Dom's job is always to make sure it's a what when you leave.
We gotta always make sure it's locked so that way nobody steals any of our snacks or money.
Because sometimes the high schoolers like to shake it, so you have to make sure it's really locked. And then this is what we do every month, if not more. So what do we have to do?
Clean the inside and outside of our vending machine.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know how many times.
Lots. Right.
And this is my most favorite part, going to Sam's Club and buying stuff for our vending machine. Checking expiration dates on all the bags and snacks. And checking prices on our vending machine.
So it's their job, and as a team, especially the classroom paraprofessionals, they work together to make an inventory of what we need. We go to Sam's Club and we have to buy everything, and then we restock, checks expiration dates, so it's been a really big job. Okay, so what have we made? What is our profit?
$2,000.
We have made $2,000 this year, and this is our breakdown of what we would like to do with the money. So we're going to tell you a little bit more about how we would like to donate the money. So our first place, so we are donating this Thursday, we are donating to these two businesses, and this is why, or I should say organizations. So where are we donating to first?
We're donating to Green Township.
Okay, why?
It has been a great job site for us. We enjoy working there. We learn new skills there. We are able to donate back to our community.
So Green Township Building has been a job site for us this year. We go at least once, if not twice a month, and we get to work there. So it's been a great opportunity for us. All right, so tell us your favorite part.
So my favorite part is I like how all of us are working as a team. And here's the funny part. This one over here likes to make messes, that way we can clean them up.
So sometimes we do such a great job cleaning that in order to teach a skill, we have to create a new mess. So we like to create new messes and then we learn how to clean up. So Mrs. H, do you want to share, one of your highlights of the Green Township Building this year?
Yeah, I believe it's one of the best job sites that we've had since I've been here, that I've been to. And when Dominic was saying about the mess, we have our own room that they let us go in, and we eat lunch in there as a group and take breaks. And that's where some of our learning also takes place, in that room. Reviewing skills and learning skills.
Yes, you're very blessed to be there. All right, ready for the next one. So our next business that we're going to donate to is
Lucky Dogs.
Lucky Dogs. So why, Dom?
They were very kind to us. They always greet us all the time. Well, this was our first time going there.
They were very kind.
We appreciate what they do for our community. They take good care of the dogs for the owners. They are starting a new project for the dogs who don't have a home.
Yep. So Dom, what did you like about Lucky Dogs?
Basically seeing all the puppies and seeing how they take care of them.
That was one of the things we got to do, is help socialize the puppies. So we got to sit in a pen with 24 or more puppies, and it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed it.
Even though there was mud, we had still had fun.
Go ahead, buddy.
There are small dogs and big dogs.
There were small dogs and big
And
dogs.
plus one cat.
There was one cat. That was the highlight, was seeing the one cat out of all the dogs. Mrs. C, you want to share a highlight from this location?
So what I liked is that we could take from the beginning of the year, and we talked about pets, what they have, cats, dogs, and then we learned a lesson on that, and then we were able to take that out into the community with Lucky Dogs. And I don't know if you guys know, but our class ranges from 8th grade all the way up to 22. So we're taking different age groups and trying to fit them into one big happy family, and a lot of our places let us do that, which is very nice.
All right, and what are we going to do to get back to the school this year?
So we've been thinking about selling free ice cream for the kids at the end of the school year.
So we've had a ton of support from all the students and a lot of the staff and teachers. So at the end, we are hoping to pass out a free treat to everyone as a thank you. So we just want to say, yeah, thank you for allowing us to be here. We really appreciate your support.
Thank you.
All right, so I just want to say, I know you had me here earlier to talk about, AP courses and RMU courses, but I think you got a good snapshot of just the students that we service as a school district, and Pennsylvania has done a good job at making sure that we're creating students that are career ready in some of the things that they're requiring with graduation pathways. And so career ready means a lot of different things for different students. So hopefully tonight gives you a good look at that and just kind of come in full circle. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Englert. I also wanted to, on behalf of the board, thank Destiny, Dominic, Elliot, and Clayton. You guys all were great representatives, and so we're very proud of you. Thanks to the staff, all the life skills staff, thank you. You guys are doing a great job. Very happy to hear not only how successful the vending machine project is, but what you're doing with your profits is very noteworthy. So thank you for thinking about your community. Didn't want to forget to say thank you to the cadets, and thank you to Sergeant Oshop and all the staff to support them. You guys are doing a great job. I think it's really cool to see all the different experiences our cadets get. So yes, it is kind of frames, as Mr. Engler said, our conversation earlier with all the students we try to serve throughout our student body. So thank you all. Are there any other questions, comments? Right. The next item on our agenda is guest and citizen comments. No one has signed up to speak to the board this evening. The chair recognizes Dr. Ken Berlin for superintendent's report.
Thanks, Mr. President. I just wanted to echo your sentiments regarding the student presentations tonight and all that goes into that, the staff and Mr. Engler's leadership. I knew that I would be upstaged if I tried to do a presentation, so I have no report this evening.
Thank you.
Smart move. He is a doctor. He's a doctor.
The chair recognizes Ms. Vicki Bendig, Business Administrator, for her report.
Can I plead the same and not present?
No, you don't get away that easy.
So for this evening, treasurer's reports, general fund, cash in the accounts as of April 30th, $10,227,498.84. And I have the budget versus actual report. This is as of April 30th. Again, we're 83% of the fiscal year complete. And start with revenues, 97.1% of budgeted real estate tax collected, and 90.71% of our total local revenue. State revenue, we've received 65.02%, federal revenue 66.07%. We have used 31.49% of our committed funds that we are planning on using this year, which brings us to a total of 76.33%. So we're not quite at 83% of the fiscal year, but the federal funds do come in usually after the end of the year, as well as the state, and we'll get those in June. Moving on to the expenditures. Again, 83% of the fiscal year is complete. I do see that there is one category, the autistic support category is overspent, and 2 years ago, Pennsylvania Department of Education gave us a chart of accounts and said that we should no longer be reporting special ed funds as a collective group, 1,200, that it needed to be broken out by programs as subcategories. That's how they require it to be reported. So because we had always budgeted for special ed as a collective group, it becomes very difficult to split it out and know what expenditures each section has. So what is life skills spending? What does it take to run the emotional support classroom? What does it take to run the autistic support classroom? Which that autistic support classroom was new this year. So it is overspent, but there is extra support in other special education, which is where everything got moved to when they said you have to present it in a subcategory. So there is a budgetary transfer item to move some money from life skills aid salaries to the autistic support aid salary. Just want to make mention of that. All the other categories are in good shape. And as of April 30th, we have spent 67.83% of our budget expenditures. So I expect some of those to come in over the next 2 months, and we'll check back next month to see how that is. Capital projects, treasurer's report in that amount in those accounts, $386,301.74. The cafeteria account has $687,099.58 in those accounts, And the cafeteria profit and loss report for the month of April, we had $104,162.31 of revenue, and we had expenditures of $77,239.96, which leaves a net profit for the month of $26,922.35, which brings us to a net profit for the year-to-date of $64,938.29. Moving on to the bill lists, Exhibit A1, checks already written between the last board meeting and the work session, $69,711.48. Checks written between the work session and this evening, $13,492.20. And the general fund bills for this month in Exhibit A3, $890,281.91. Cafeteria checks written between the last board meeting and work session was $179.17. Cafeteria checks written between the work session and this evening, $44,098.24. Also make mention that that check is the payment to the nutrition group that gives us a discount if we pay it ahead of time. And then the cafeteria bills, Exhibit B3 for this evening, $554.77. The Seneca High School Activity Fund had $89,442.98 as of the end of April in all of those accounts. That is all that I have for this evening.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the reports, payments, and invoices as presented.
So moved, Young.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Pushcheck.
Are there any further discussion or questions on the financial reports? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Bendick. There are two items on the agenda under legal advisement, and I believe an additional, yes, a third on the addendum. LA1 is the appointment of our school district labor council for the 2024-25 fiscal year. I'll entertain a motion to appoint the firm of McDonald Illig with attorney Mark Kuhar as the labor relations solicitor for the 2024-2025 fiscal year.
Morvay, so moved.
Nicole, second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions on LA1? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. LA2 is the appointment of a school district solicitor for the 2024-25 fiscal year. I'll entertain a motion to appoint the firm of Knox McLaughlin, Gornell and Senate with attorney Jennifer Gornell as the school district solicitor for the 2024-25 fiscal year.
So moved, Young. Second, Pushcheck.
Thank you. Is there any questions or discussions on LA2? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The motion carries. And then on the addendum, LA3, which is student discipline, I'll entertain a motion to approve in lieu of expulsion agreement for a Seneca High School student.
Morvay, so moved.
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions on LA3? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. The chair recognizes Dr. Andy Pushcheck for finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 6 items. I'd like to take the first 5 as a group without objection. F1, transfers. F2, sponsor-to-sponsor agreement. F3, to elect the treasurer. F4, the designation of depository. F5, the appointment of the current delinquent per capita tax collector. So F1 through 5, so moved.
Do we have a
Nicole,
second?
second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussions on F1 through 5? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's carry.
And I would like to move approval of the nutrition food services agreement in F6, so moved.
Burlingham, second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or questions on F6?
Mr. President,
Dr. Pushcheck.
I would just like to thank our nutrition group for all that they do. This was one of the best moves we ever made as a previous board to serve our students in this manner with fresh food, healthy food options, and I think they do a wonderful job, and I'm glad we're able to continue their services through this agreement. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Hearing no other discussion, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the motion carries.
That's all I have under finance this evening, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Pushek.
Mr. President, may I also note that the nutrition group provided amazing salads after the fourth grade field trip on Friday. Phenomenal.
Didn't sway your vote one bit, though, did
Great salad. Great salad.
it? The chair recognizes Mr. Brian Young for Building and Grounds.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll go ahead and move all three, hearing no objections from the board. I've got B1, utilization of school facilities. This is the PMEA Junior District Band for next year, as discussed at the work session, but also from the addendum includes the use of the Seneca High School athletic facilities by Drum Corps International, as previously discussed, but this is with an adjusted fee. B2, utilization of school facilities, for the YMCA childcare agreement, in Exhibit G, and B3, to award the bids for the campus paving and concrete projects as noted. So moved.
Second, Pushcheck.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or question on the three items? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Those motions carry. Thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. President.
The chair recognizes Ms. Nicole Lee for personnel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a long list tonight that I would like to group together without objection. They include P1, ESS substitute additions, P2, service substitute additions, P3, resignations as listed, P4, ESY appointments, P5, conference requests, P6, summer school program appointments, P7, kindergarten boot camp, P8, summer help appointments, P9, appointments for personnel, P10, tuition reimbursement, and P11 on the addendum, which would be leave request. So moved.
Second, Young.
Thank you. Is there any questions or discussions on the 10 items, under personnel?
Mr. President,
Dr. Pushek.
I'll be abstaining from P9 as one of the appointments is a family member.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I will be abstaining from P8 as one of the appointments as a family member.
Thank you. Are there any other discussions or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions?
As noted.
As noted.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Lee. The chair recognizes Ms. Brittany Burlingham for policy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one item under policy tonight, PL1, which is the second reading of policies. Motion to approve the second reading of the following policies, which are enrollment of students in Exhibit I, eligibility of non-resident students in Exhibit J, graduation, Exhibit K, student acceptable use of internet, computers, and network resources, Exhibit L, education opportunity for military students, Exhibit M, transportation, Exhibit N, employee acceptance user of internet, computers, and network resources, Exhibit O, and lastly, suicide awareness, prevention, and response, Exhibit P. So moved.
May we have a second?
Second, Pushcheck.
Thank you. Is there any question or discussion on our second readings of these policies? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Burlingham. Next for curriculum, we have Mr. Steve Morvay. Rob, do we want to have a continuation of our discussion, and then we'll move into these items, if you don't mind? Sounded like there were a couple more questions we didn't get to, so.
Yeah. Mr. President, and if I may then.
Sure.
As a follow-up questions on Mr. Englert's presentation earlier, regarding the RMU curriculum, the discussion, I think it was, I wrote down, I think there was 22, was it true, 22 students I think it enrolled in that, or was there more?
That was the AP, it was 50
50.
in the RMU, yeah.
So was that 50 at the beginning of the year, or is that 50 currently?
Currently, yeah.
Okay, so there was a drop-off
Correct.
at the initial portion. Was there any reason why there was kind of a big drop-off to that?
Yeah, and I'll shoulder some of the blame for that. Again, I think the communication in terms of expectations for rigor, I think so, just being so new, I don't think we knew, And as teachers were putting together the curriculum, I think it was shaping up to be more AP-like, and so a lot of these kids, a lot of our students just said, well, I'm taking all of them, I'm going to take 4 RMU courses, and I just don't think that was a good move, right? I think it was too much, and so at the beginning of the year, when I kind of grouped them all together, because there was this scramble of everyone was trying to drop and figure things out, and so just to kind of say, hey, take 2 weeks, figure out which one's the most valuable, which ones you like the best. We're not going to penalize you or put you behind in these other classes, and just kind of regroup and figure out the best path forward. I think that was a good decision. And as it wound up, I think most students ended up with 1 or 2 of them, a couple with 3, but we didn't end up with anybody taking all 4 of them. It was just too much.
Yeah. So going forward now, since classes have been selected for next year, will there be the same amount, 50-ish for next year, less, more?
I'd have to take a look at it because even though like right now, for example, the courses are figured out, but there's just a lot of movement. So for example, I was given the example of an AP course earlier, and with students that were doing dual enrollment, we only had scheduled that AP course in the morning. So now we're taking a look at, do we offer another section in the afternoon? Well, if we do that, it's going to interfere with an RMU calculus course. So there still is a lot of tweaking to the schedule, so I haven't looked at the total numbers to have an idea.
I just was trying to gauge interest, going forward, given that there's 1 year under the belt, just to see how things move forward. As well, regarding the RMU courses, and the dual enrollment and kind of comparing those two, and, basically they're, an equivalency for a college credit, et cetera. I know some of the RMU courses lasted the entire year, whereas dual enrollment, generally, I don't think I knew of any instance that did actually last a full year, so they basically took 2 classes during the course of 1. So therefore they got an equivalent 6 credits versus 3. So when you talked about the conversation about value and things along those lines, maybe there is a benefit, to if they're just looking at straight numbers, on cost. So I didn't know if there was any discussion further as going forward with the RMU. Are we able to create that so that it is an equivalency, so it's a semester course versus a yearly course?
Yeah, so and it's a good question. And so it's something that we took a look at in terms of hourly requirements per credit. And so you got to look at it on a class-by-class basis. So for example, when we look at the calculus, we're like, hey, I don't think this is a good idea to try to condense it. Or a science credit with a lab. So that works out, both of those work out to 4 credit courses rather than 3 credit courses. And so I think from a rigor standpoint, it would be pretty challenging to try to condense those into a semester. And again, when we look at it, we've put it more on par with an AP course, which is going to go the full year. But for something like, the perfect example right now is the American History course. And granted, I had a little bit better background in that, so I had a better understanding of the curriculum. And when I sat down with Megan Schindeldecker, who's going to be teaching that course, we took a look at the pacing of it and said, hey, this is one where it makes sense to divide this semester by semester. So if you sign up for that American History course, you are going to get 6 credits instead of 3 because we felt like we could cover them semester by semester for 3 credit courses, and then it would fit into the confines of the time. But when you look at the amount of time that we spend in class versus college credits, we're kind of like in the middle, right? So we're trying to figure that out on a case-by-case basis, and going forward, find places where we can do semester courses.
It seems to me, from what I hear through the common thread through your presentation, is the struggle with the scheduling is almost as big of a challenge as anything to try to make this work well. Whether it's dual enrollment, whether it's AP, whether it's RMU, whether it's all those things, given our size of school and the amount of teachers that are, 1, qualified, and 2, have the time to be able to do it. And so I just don't, I appreciate the efforts that are involved in trying to fit this multi-sided function to create this, to make this work. And I know it's a challenge. And, I understand this will continue to be refined as things go. So 1 year in, I guess in general, your opinion seems to be that we're getting a better handle on things as 1 year is in and we're into the 2nd year now?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And it's going to vary from year to year. Right now I'm looking at courses where, hey, calculus, for example, we're always going to have in that class probably single digits, maybe low double digits for one section, right? And so if you don't balance the schedule correctly and you force kids to make a decision, well, do I take RMU calculus or do I take AP English language? If I force that decision, I may not have enough kids to take either class, right? Because we're going to be splitting it down the middle.
Is there a minimum Per either one, RMU, AP, and is it 5 or below, 5 or above?
I don't know that, there's not like a policy, there's no minimum for them, you know what I mean? It's just
Right, okay.
trying to figure out the manpower and the
enough.
value that we're getting.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. President,
Dr. Pushek.
I wanted to thank Mr. Englert for acknowledging the rollout didn't go well, and to increase the communication. I think, number one, that the 21 credits at the home school can be a combination of our own courses, our RMU courses, and our AP courses. I think that will help tremendously to let our students and families know that. I think, number two, we're always in a continuous improvement model where we have to look at what we've done to see how we can improve or enhance what we're doing, and I think we're doing that. As a former high school principal myself at a small school, I understand the challenges, and it sometimes just seems easy to just fit these courses in there, but it doesn't work like that. And then I wanted to follow up on one comment that Mr. Morvay made, and maybe just a clarification if you can, Mr. Morvay. Were you saying that the teacher would teach to lesser standards if students weren't taking the AP test? Is that what you were inferring?
My fear is that the class may not get through the entirety of the curriculum, given that not all students would take the test. And so therefore, some things may be missed at the end, given that the class, may not all take the test. And so therefore, the syllabus or whatever the curriculum that you may want to say, that's my fear, that if the test is not a requirement, is there a possibility that the curriculum is not fully completed to the level of the test?
Could you speak to that, Mr. Englert, that do our teachers teach or slow down on the syllabus if we know students aren't taking the test?
Yeah, so there's two schools of thought on this. First of all, I think ultimately to that point, I think the buck stops with me on that, right? So like, I'm the one that has to look at it and say, hey, are we reaching the appropriate standard? Are you hitting everything in the curriculum? And so I look at the data at the end of it and say, yeah, we did that, or no, we didn't, and make an honest assessment and have that conversation with the teacher. Speaking from someone who's taught AP courses before, the two schools of thought have been, what is of more value? Is it of more value to get more people into an AP course and expose them to the material and a higher level of rigor than maybe they're used to? Or is it more valuable to have less people take the course but increase the test scores, right? And so there was a component, and I don't know if it's still into the building level scores, where you kind of got, a few years ago, you got bonus points, for lack of a better term, for participation, right, in AP courses. I don't think that's still the case. But so that's up to the school to determine what do you think is of more value, right? And I do think that in an AP course, we set a standard, and the teacher knows that, the students know that, and I'm the one that oversees that and make sure that that standard's met.
Yes, so to that, if I may, keep that conversation going. If the intent, as we have heard through previous discussions, is to get a college credit out of it, the only way you get that credit is by passing the test.
Yeah.
And so the rigor is there, the information is there by taking the class, but if your intent is to get a college level credit, obviously you need to pass with a 3 or above on the test.
Yeah, and I'll say this, like one other component of even the Val-Sal conversation was, we tried to force kids to take the test, right, to get the weighting of the course. We can't do that any longer because the state of Pennsylvania said you're going to get the weighting regardless. And I don't know that achieved the desired objective. Like, just saying you have to take the test and you got to pay for it. I don't know how valid that is. Again, I think it just falls on me and the teacher to make sure that you're getting through the curriculum, you're doing it appropriately, and we get the right kids in with the right expectation so that you don't end up with 20 kids that start the course, see that halfway through or a quarter of the way through, this is way too difficult for me, and are dropping, and again, that messes with the schedule. Mm-hmm. So I think back to Dr. Pushek's point, the communication from the get-go in terms of the expectations is probably more key to that than who takes the test and who doesn't.
And that's not just you, that's the guidance offices,
Sure.
That's previous teachers, It's a holistic approach to get the kids in the right slot.
Yep, we're trying to be pulling in the same direction.
Yeah.
Right.
Mr. Engler, so earlier when you were talking about the 50 RMU, you said, I think, that's students are taking maybe multiple. So that's 50 courses, really, right? Whether one student took 3, another student took 1, that all adds up to be the 50 courses of RMU were taken?
Yeah, I'll put in layman's terms, that's 50 butts and seats,
Sure.
right? So
Sure. And then we had 10 students that took some level of dual enrollment courses at the local universities, correct?
And yeah, that is exact number of students.
Do you know, I just was curious, to Mr. Morvay's point, out of the 10 students that went on campus, do you know how many courses, like did each of them take 2, and so that's 20 courses taken? Would you guess, I guess, if you didn't know that exactly? I was just curious.
I'd have to look at it again. I was familiar with it, and I think I pulled those numbers because I know Dr. Berlin was giving me some information on that. I think it's closer to 4, probably.
Okay.
That each kid has taken.
4 per, so more like 40 courses?
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
okay,
Sorry.
gotcha. And I think how you described that earlier, that, in your mind, RMU is equivalent to AP, and that's the communication. I know some students heard RMU, well, this is a college, and so this is like my equivalent of not going to Gannon or Mercyhurst to sustain, and I think that's part of what we learned as we taught the courses, so that was good. You stated and showed in some of your data that, I want to say maybe it's your personal goal, but is that students not just get into college if they desire to go to college, but that they are successful and they actually graduate, whether it's 4 years for those paying the bills would really appreciate that, but 5 years, 6 years, graduate at some point. I guess I can totally get behind that school of thought. I wondered, do you know of what other school districts are doing? I guess I'll ask Dr. Berlin this as well. When you say, and I can get why that data is hard to grab as they leave our walls, but because we are a small community, maybe it's a benefit, you would think that we would have some strings out to others that have left us, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I guess I'm curious is that data that we have any way of capturing? Because it does seem like that might guide, the board and your decisions going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm open to ideas on it. The problem becomes, even in a small community, is let's say we got a third of our graduates to respond to that 4 years later. Is that enough data to be valid? Because again, now you're talking about 4 or 5 students can create an outlier situation. So I don't know. It was something that was a part of conversations at Harbor Creek, like how do we do this? And even kind of made a little push, and boy, I just was not successful in coming up with anything that I could follow through on.
What if we just looked at the local universities? Because, that would be not that hard of data to attain, I would think. And
Yeah.
there are plenty of kids that go there, and maybe it'll take a few years to get enough, but
Right.
they're close. We probably have connects.
Yeah.
We have enough kids that go there.
Yeah, it's worth looking into for sure.
Yeah, their level of, cooperation to disclose that individual student information would be an obstacle.
Yeah, okay.
Because they do have confidential record policies as well.
I'm not talking about like personal grades, anything like that, but like how long did it take this person to graduate or,
Sure.
just so we could have something.
I'm sure they could provide that in aggregate. I know, I was 17 years ago, I started as a high school principal, and this discussion it was the same discussion then. There's been various tracking systems that have been tried, but they all suffer the same fate, which is lack of...
It's going to need to be a requirement to come to the 5-year reunion, fill out this survey.
Right. That's exactly it. It's like in research that's called mortality of subjects, which sounds morbid, but it just means it's hard to collect the data because people stop responding or they don't respond.
Yeah, I can ask Mrs. Nolan. She's been here for a long time and seems to know everybody that's ever graduated. That's probably more valid.
How many graduation parties has she gone?
Well, if there's no other questions from the board, again, I thank you, Rob, for your presentation. I thank the whole admin team, because I think we all recognize that we did a lot of moving parts at this point last year to get ready, and, not everything went super smooth, but that we've rolled with it, and we're refining it for next year, so appreciate all your efforts on that.
Sure.
Again, for curriculum, Mr. Seymour.
Yes, Mr. President. So there are 4 items on the agenda tonight, and if there's no objection, I'd like to move all 4 of these as one slate. First one is item C1, the approval of the junior-senior prom that occurred a couple of weeks ago. Second one was C2, is a senior banquet that's scheduled to be this week. Third one is C3, which is the seniors list for graduation in Exhibit Q, as well as then the C4, the new Seneca High School textbooks, as outlined in Exhibit R. So moved.
Thank you. Do we have any question or discussion on the 4 items under curriculum? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Morvay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
The chair recognizes Mr. Jesse Williams for technology.
I have nothing at this time.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Mr. Greg Brummagen for transportation.
Mr. President, I have one for tonight, T1, motion to approve transportation request and ratification of field trip since last meeting as outlined. It is attachment 2 on the addendum.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second Burlingham.
Thank you. Is there any question or discussions on the transportation request? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Brummagen. The chair recognizes Ms. Leah Hetherington for athletic and extracurricular.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one item with an addition on the addendum, and that is AE1, the volunteer list. I just went totally blank.
Just say so moved.
So moved, thank you.
Second, Pushcheck.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussions on the one item under athletic extracurricular? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Hetherington. For miscellaneous, we have a couple items. M1 is our Kidder Media Agreement. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement between Kidder Media, Wattsburg Area School District for the 2024-2025 newsletter production as outlined in Exhibit T.
So moved, Young.
Second, Pushcheck.
Thank you. Is there any questions or discussions on M1? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. And M2 is surplus items. I'll entertain a motion to approve items as surplus as outlined in Exhibit U.
Morvay, so moved.
Nicole, second.
Thank you. Is there any questions or discussion on M2? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The motion carries. And M3 is our PSBA delegate. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Board Member Jesse Williams as our Wattsburg Area School District delegate to attend the 2024 PSBA Assembly scheduled for Saturday, November 2nd, 2024.
So moved, Young.
Second Burlingham.
Thank you. Is there any question or discussion on M3? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. For an Erie County Technical School report, Mr. Steve Morvay.
Mr. President, this is the report of the Joint Operating Committee of the Technical School for April. Just a couple of notices. We did have a couple of students of the month, Jesse Larson in auto body, as well as Alexander Sehan for computer programming. Just a couple of updates on what has occurred this month for the tech school. They had their career fair on the 1st of May. They then had the signing day, which was actually tomorrow. And signing day means any student that is going into the work or the military force. They have a presentation very similar to what they do for athletic signing days. They do that for careers going forward. And then they have senior awards. That'll be their senior awards banquet is on the 29th of May. In addition, if you recall, we approved our budget. All the districts approved that unanimously, so then therefore it was adopted by the Joint Operating Committee. There was also the Perkins funding meeting, which is on the 17th, which I know Dr. Pushak attends as part of our representative at the IU5. That is a funding source that all technical schools go after. That is a large source of funding for technical schools. So that meeting occurred last week. There was also new student orientation. That date has been set for the August 21st going forward. Kind of a winding up on the construction. Updates on that is there's some final punch list items, which are just odds and ends that needed to be completed. Those are continuing. There are some lockers that need to be painted. That will happen in June after school is out, as well as then landscaping is occurring now. And then the contingency, the remaining dollars that were left over from the construction work, in total, which includes furnishing, as well as construction items, it's roughly about a $500,000 contingency. And if you recall, those contingency funds were going to start their building capital fund, so they'll be able to use that and generate funds for future items going forward. Which one of those items potentially would be we found that there's a need for a new metal shop, an additional metal shop. And but currently, right now, it's much in the future. I know we've also approved multiple programs for this coming year. That is not on the docket for this coming fall. but they are pursuing additional grants to fund that construction for an addition to the metal shop. Lastly, some statistics. There's 785 students currently, 21 additional from year over year, as well as we also had Skills USA, which is the technical schools program that goes to the state for various items that they present. We had Mallory Campbell and her team. They did their promotional bulletin board, so they participated in the Skills USA competition back in April. So that's my report, Mr. President, unless you have any questions for me.
Did you mention the open house? Where you mentioned it before. That's like at the end of summer?
That is scheduled still for end of August. Yeah, we don't have a date specifically yet for that.
Great, thank you. The chair recognizes Dr. Andy Pushak for Northwest Intermediate Unit report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Similar to Mr. Morvay's report, the budget for the IU was unanimously approved by all school districts and thus adopted by the IU board. The IU HR department is busy filling several positions. 42, I believe, outstanding positions need to be filled at this point. And that will conclude my report. Short and sweet.
Thank you. That brings us to board correspondence and dialogue. Anything from the board this evening?
Go ahead. You want to? Oh,
No,
thanks,
go ahead.
Leah.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Well, I just really, you guys know I'm more of the sappier one here, so I'm just gonna, make you sit through this for a minute, because I'm literally on a board of educators of some form and financial money people, which is great, but I'm like literally the mental health component. And so I really feel like the conversation we had today about the AP classes and the RMU classes, but then also combined with the presentations from our community was so fantastic, because I do think we have to remember, and I know you guys all know this, but for some kids, grades, academic journeys really don't matter. They wake up and their goal is to survive the day. So school and community events and learning how to have healthy engagements and relationships are some of the things that they're really learning to get through. And they're not as focused on going to college or getting good grades. They just want to have a day in a school where they're warm and they're getting a hot meal and they're around people who are going to love and nurture them. So I just felt like I needed to throw that out there. I love what we do. I love the fact that our community does so many things for our kids' mental health, for our families' mental health. It's just so important, because sometimes we forget and we focus so much on what are these grades. Like, my kids get a lot of anxiety over education, and it's not what I want them to freak out over all the time, because sometimes it's just not that big of a thing if you are doing the best you can. So anyway, that's what I got. That's all I had to say, and thank you guys for the communication, and the conversation today was really good. That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Burlingame. Mrs. Hetherington?
I was just going to say that Veterans Dinner would be something I'd like to see showcased in the newsletter.
Noted.
Mr. President?
Dr. Pushak?
I have two children, my wife and I, in the Wattsburg
You have a lot
area.
more than two children.
At the Wattsburg area middle school.
Okay.
And I wanted to say I attended one honor roll breakfast 2 weeks ago, and I will attend another one tomorrow. That is a wonderful way to recognize our students and our parents, to recognize them for their schoolwork. Sorry.
That's fine.
But they really do enjoy that, and the nutrition group puts on a wonderful breakfast. So just wanted to point that out, and I'm excited to see it tomorrow morning. Thank you.
I just want to note, especially for the newer board members, that between our May and our June board meeting, there's a couple of things that happen. We're required to annually do an evaluation of our superintendent. So the committee is myself as chair, Mr. Morvay as vice chair, and then we've asked Ms. Lee to join our small committee. We'll be meeting with Dr. Berlin over the course of the next 4 weeks to review his performance evaluation, self-evaluation. We'll put together a draft evaluation, and then before our June work session, we'll have an executive session for the entire board to discuss that, and hopefully be able to vote on it for our June board meeting, approval of that evaluation. And that's all I have.
Mr. President, if I may, since our next board meeting is not until after graduation, I would just like to congratulate the seniors for this year, as well as the achievements that they have made, either academically or athletically or communitively, as we've seen with ROTC, et cetera, all those things that continue to have gone through the course of a school year. So they've really achieved quite well. So that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Pushcheck.
Second, Young.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. We are adjourned.